The conventional view of the India-Russia relationship is one of one-way reliance, with New Delhi quietly soaking up discounted energy and legacy weapons while trying to dodge Western criticism. But look past the headlines, and the power balance is inverted. Moscow now relies on India for its very economic survival, and New Delhi knows it. Following the 2022 invasion, the West expelled Russia from the SWIFT financial system and froze $300 billion in central bank assets. Moscow lost its primary European customer base in an instant. Without a new outlet for its oil, the Russian state faced a total and immediate fiscal collapse. To survive, Moscow rerouted its massive tanker fleets away from the Atlantic, steering them toward the only major economy willing and able to absorb the volume, India. India's intake of Russian crude spiked from a marginal 2% to over 40%. By absorbing the surplus oil that Europe discarded, New Delhi effectively underwrote the Russian treasury at its moment of maximum vulnerability. Trade turnover between the two nations has since ballooned to nearly $69 billion, but the balance is heavily tilted, driven almost entirely by these massive oil purchases. The steep discounts Moscow offers on that crude are the clearest sign of the new dynamic. They are the price of desperation from a seller with no other options. India, meanwhile, maintains a diversified energy portfolio, sourcing crude from over 40 different countries and holding major active contracts with the US and Iraq. Russia is the one with its back to the wall. Moscow now relies on just two primary buyers, China and India, to purchase the vast majority of its seaborne crude. This flexibility makes India resilient. Even when Middle East conflicts threaten traditional supply routes, New Delhi has the luxury of choice. If a bottleneck like the Strait of Hormuz faces a blockade, India simply leans heavier on its Russian pipeline to keep its domestic economy running without a hitch. Because India has dozens of potential suppliers, it dictates the terms of the trade, treating Russia as a vendor of convenience rather than a strategic master. To dodge Western sanctions, India implemented a unique payment system. It pays for Russian oil almost exclusively in Indian rupees. However, those billions of rupees are deposited directly into special Vostro accounts held within Indian banks. The rupee is not a fully convertible currency. Outside of India's borders, it is virtually impossible to spend, exchange, or use for international trade. Russia cannot use these trillions of trapped rupees to buy Chinese semiconductors, pay European creditors, or fund its military operations abroad. Billions of dollars worth of Russian national wealth is now effectively paralyzed, accumulating in accounts Moscow can see but cannot spend. To get any value out of this capital, Russia is forced to reinvest it directly into Indian infrastructure and government bonds. India engineered a perfect circle. It receives the oil it needs, but ensures the wealth used to buy it never actually leaves the Indian economy. Washington could have used secondary sanctions to stop this trade. Instead, it issued official waivers, effectively signaling that India's role in the market is too important to disrupt. New Delhi's message to the West has been consistent. The energy security and inflation rates for its 1.4 billion people will always outweigh foreign diplomatic pressure. To push the envelope even further, India has facilitated some Russian oil payments in Chinese yuan, successfully bypassing U.S. financial jurisdiction entirely. Despite being trapped in a currency loop and forced to accept India's shifting payment demands, Moscow has no choice but to continue supplying India with high-end military hardware. Deliveries of advanced defense systems, including the S-400, have continued to arrive on schedule, proving that Moscow must honor its contracts, even as the power balance shifts away from them. India has successfully extracted trade waivers from the U.S., weapons from Israel, and energy from Russia, all while utilizing Chinese currency to settle its debts. By treating every global power as a vendor or a customer, India has perfected a strategy for a multipolar world, reaping the benefits of global conflict while retaining absolute independence.